Hey guys and gals, it's Trevor again. So I recently painted 10 new Ork Boyz. And you know what that means? We get to name 10 new orcs. But Trevor, why bother naming your orcs? That's an excellent question, and one that I am more than happy to answer. Well, first of all, it gives your models a sense of individuality. Like sure, maybe they started out as a hunk of plastic that you paid way too much money for and is placing you under considerable financial stress, which is putting strain on your relationship with your girlfriend. But once you give them a name, they become so much more than that. They could be Aragorn, son of Arathorn, heir to the throne of Gondor, or Ned Stark, Warden of the North and Hand of the King. I mean, if I hadn't named my Gene Stealers previously, what do you expect me to call them? Gene Stealer number 17? Bit demeaning, don't you think? More importantly, naming your models can create a talking point in your next Warhammer game. Like, have you ever been to a game where someone invited their sister or girlfriend or someone who doesn't play Warhammer, and they're standing around, they have no idea what's going on, so they go up to someone and they say, "Oh, your models look interesting, what army do you play?" And the person they ask turns around and says, "I play the Imperial Fists, they are a chapter of the Space Marines." "Oh, but there are actually 20 chapters because there are 20 Primarchs." "Oh, what's a Primarch?" "Well, a Primarch is a genetically..." It's boring as shit to listen to something like that. So imagine instead if this person comes up to you and says, "Oh, your models look very nice. Oh my goodness, and they have names. What are their names?" And you look up proudly and say, "Well, this one's name is Mulan because I really liked the movie." And the other person goes, "Oh my goodness, I loved Mulan too. It was my favorite movie." And then you can have an actual conversation and make a new friend. And once you've made that new friend who doesn't know anything about Warhammer, you can slowly convince them that Warhammer is a hobby that they should get into. And then after that, you can talk to them about your complicated Imperium lore. The perfect plan. And so I'm gonna choose names for my 10 new Ork Boyz. While naming them, I'll be keeping a few simple rules in mind. First of all, no repeating names. This should be fairly obvious. I mean, I'd be pretty annoyed if my parents named all my siblings and myself Trevor. My mom would be like, "Trevor," and then she'd have to clarify, "Oh no, I meant the cool, amazing, wonderful Trevor." And that would be very inconvenient. The second rule is that the names have to be recognizable. I mean, if the names aren't recognizable, then they're not gonna be very good for starting conversations. And finally, all the names are gonna follow a single theme. This is gonna make me seem a bit more coordinated and orderly, which in turn will make me look less like an eccentric hermit who spends 85% of his time painting miniatures for make-believe battles with his friends. The theme I've decided to go with for my Ork Boyz is well-known stupid characters. The reason for this is, well, orcs aren't exactly the f***ing Stephen Hawkings of the 40k universe. They're closer in intelligence to like a flat earther. So yes, I think it's an appropriate theme. I did of course ask the people in my Discord server for naming suggestions. And if you're wondering how to get access to my Discord server, you can do so by supporting me on Patreon, patreon.com/TrevorGoesMeep. Alright, let's get to naming our 10 Ork Boyz. Starting us off, we have Carl Weezer. So Carl Weezer is one of Jimmy Neutron's dumb friends. I will say, when I was picking this name, I did wonder, is Carl Weezer stupid, or does he just look stupid next to Jimmy Neutron? So I went back to take a look at some Jimmy Neutron videos, and Carl Weezer is pretty f***ing stupid. I've gotta say, I do enjoy Carl Weezer memes as well. Like, you know, where they have whole songs sung in his voice. I think I saw a rap god sung by Carl Weezer once. The internet is a crazy place. But anyway, my first orc is gonna be named Carl Weezer. Next up, we have Cow and Chicken. So Cow and Chicken is one of those early 2000s cartoons that I can't quite believe existed, and gosh darn it was it strange when I watched it. In hindsight, the first few lines of the theme song should have been a warning for the idiocy that was to come. Mama had a chicken, mama had a cow, Dad was proud, he didn't care how. At one point, my parents actually banned my brothers and I from watching the show because they were worried that we would get too stupid from watching it. I'm not messing around, this actually happened. And you know what? They were probably right. Cow and Chicken was an incredibly idiotic show, and the characters Cow and Chicken were the main culprits. That being said, in real life, cows and chickens aren't like very smart, so I don't know what I was expecting really. But anyway, the next two Ork Boyz are gonna be called Cow and Chicken. Next up, we have Morty Smith from Rick and Morty. Rick and Morty is one of my favorite shows. Like, they've had some really solid episodes. I really enjoyed the Total Recall episode, the Vindicators episode, Pickle Rick. So many good things about that show. Anyway, I'm not sure that I would classify Morty as stupid per se, but in the show's lore, he is a stupid character. Like, there was that whole episode where Rick explained that Morty's brain waves are the exact opposite of his because he's so stupid that it cancels out Rick's presence. So even though I personally personally may not feel that Morty is quite stupid, he has been definitively scientifically labeled as a stupid person in the show, and therefore he qualifies for our naming theme today. So our next orc is going to be called Morty. Moving right along, we have Mr. Bean. Mr. Bean is of course a legendary show and character. When I was a kid, it was basically impossible to find someone who hadn't watched Mr. Bean. While Mr. Bean is clearly a very stupid character, I do think that the show was actually pretty clever. I mean, you could watch the show and find it funny with basically zero dialogue in the show, which also made it one of the perfect shows to play in waiting rooms. I must have watched like 100 hours of footage while waiting for the dentist, which made my dental visits that much more pleasant. So yeah, great show, great character, very stupid. He's gonna be one of my Ork boys. Next up, we have Patrick Star. So I've always found the dynamic between Patrick and SpongeBob very interesting, because I think most people would agree that the two of them are pretty much idiots, but one of them is a very high energy idiot, SpongeBob, and one of them is a very low energy idiot, Patrick. And fair enough, I mean, I don't think sponges and starfish think about much in real life. And as a nice bonus, Patrick is a starfish, which means that if you cut off one of his arms, it'll grow back. And you know, orcs, if you cut off one of their arms and you replace it with some other dude's arm, it's gonna heal just fine. So I think there's some interesting parallels there, which makes Patrick Star a great naming choice for one of my Ork boys. Next up, we have Ralph Wiggum from The Simpsons. This was actually a suggestion by Kara in the Discord server, and yeah, she didn't actually know his name. She just posted a picture of him and said, "This guy." Sheesh, Kara, get on top of your Simpsons lore. But yes, Ralph Wiggum is that little kid in The Simpsons who always seems to be in the wrong place at the wrong time, but he's not smart enough to get himself out of those situations. He is also the subject of one of my favorite memes, the "I'm in danger" meme, which I happen to see in my head a lot when I play Tyranids. I do think that life as an Ork boy might be better for Ralph Wiggum. He can finally get his revenge on society. And so I'm gonna name one of my Ork boys Ralph Wiggum. Next up, we have one of the greatest duos in modern television, Scully and Hitchcock. Now, I admit, when Brooklyn Nine-Nine first came out, I didn't really want to watch it. Like, I thought it was just gonna be another lame show. But one night I was having drinks with two of my friends and they f***ing shamed me for not knowing anything about Brooklyn Nine-Nine. So after that, I went back and watched it and I really loved it. There's a lot of stupid shit that goes down in the show, but some of my favorite stupid shit comes from this pair, Scully and Hitchcock. Scully and Hitchcock are like the "my last two brain cells" meme, and conceptually I actually do quite like them because, I mean, all of us have met a Hitchcock and Scully at some point in our lives. You know, a pair of co-workers who are completely useless at their jobs, but they've been around for so long that they can't be fired. I've seen that, and I'm sure you have too. I really love how they're so obsessed with like their personal comfort food and stuff that they get really aggressive about it. Like the Mama Maglione incident. Oh, and I really love the episode where they showed the young Hitchcock and Scully, where they were like ripped and hot and actually good at their jobs. That episode was Mama Maglione. But yes, I think Hitchcock and Scully would be perfect names for two of my Ork boys. Moving on to our final Ork boy, we have Teddy from Bob's Burgers. So this was actually a suggestion by Brendan in the Discord server. Thank you, Brendan. Bob's Burgers is actually a show that I got recently introduced to by Kara. She uses it as a white noise show. Like, she'll put it on in the background and do other things like crocheting and baking. And I've gotta say, it does a marvelous job. The show is quite unassuming, but it actually has some killer lines. And they've got some killer idiot characters too. Like Teddy. Teddy is a handyman and a regular customer of Bob's Burgers. And well, he ain't the sharpest tool in the shed, if you know what I mean. But he's very entertaining, and I'm gonna say it, he's actually my favorite character in the show. I also have huge respect for his voice actor because I have no clue how you talk like that and not lose your voice. He sounds something like if Kermit the Frog smoked 8 packs of cigarettes a day, and it is symphony to my ears. So yes, Teddy from Bob's Burgers. And with that, I do believe we've named all our Ork boys for today. As is the custom around these parts, I will be putting them into an anime intro for your viewing pleasure. But before that, I'd like to thank the people in my Discord server for helping me choose names for these Ork boys. If you'd like to be part of the next naming exercise, please head on down to patreon.com/TrevorGoesMeet, where you can get access to my Discord server, as well as bloopers, work in progress shots, and some behind the scenes stuff. Oh, and if you want to see more content like this, don't forget to subscribe. And without further ado, I present to you my 10 new Ork boys.